Good morning again. That was so awesome, guys. Tarzan holds a little place in my heart. Good morning. I'm getting myself all set up here. Got to get my timer on so that we don't talk for too long. Awesome. So yeah, I'm Frankie, and I'm mom to Finn, who you guys saw earlier. His Mother's Day gift to me was to remind me what it was like when he was a newborn last night. He didn't sleep. And if your baby's not sleeping, mom's not sleeping. So I'm a little tired and really nervous to be up here. So thank you guys for having me. Like I said, I'm mom to Finn, and he's 8.5 months old. So I've been a mom for a short time now. But I'm already realizing that I have to make choices on his behalf. And I'm feeling the weight of that. I mean, babies, they're unable to make choices for themselves, and so we make and implement them for them. And that feeling, that weight, I'm feeling that. It's like, oh man, I gotta make a choice, and it could affect them for years to come. Does any other parents understand what I'm talking about right now? Okay, good. Whew, I'm not alone. That's good to know. The first big choice that we had to make for my son shortly after he was born, we had to name him. It's like, oh man, I just became mom, and now I gotta make a choice that will impact him for the rest of his life. Great. Yeah. Does anyone else have a hard time naming their kids? It was like a process to name them. Yeah? Okay, good. It's not just me. Because, yeah, I think it's a big deal. At least I thought it was. Suddenly, all those awesome names that you had thought that you would name your one-day future child, they're not any good anymore. This will become the who that they are. Who's sitting right there? Frank is sitting right there. It's their who. It'll be their spoken identity. And I wanted to consider the meaning of the name because I didn't want to give my kid a name that meant something like affliction or perpetual sorrow or the worst of them, difficult. No, a mom doesn't want to name her child difficult. Some people don't care about the meaning of a name, but I did. But probably the greatest hurdle of all was thinking about how his name would be received in relation to our last name. Some of you are already laughing because you already know. Yes. Because if you have the last name like Davis or Thompson, this isn't a problem for you, but our last name is Holes. Yep, okay. So when he was in my tummy, I thought, I know, let's name him Philip. And Adam is like, no. I'm like, why not? He's like, you might as well give him the middle name Dem and be done with it. I'm like, I don't get it. Philip Dem Holes. And then we had a list of names that we would never name our children, including Harry. You can't do that. And my husband, Adam, he already knows this pain. Because he's Adam Holes, and when his name is abbreviated on a piece of mail, where it's just his first initial and then our last name, he's A. Yes. Do you see this? This is really tough. And then, to let you in on the biggest inside joke that those people were laughing about over there, this is the cherry on top. When I married Adam, I took on his last name, and we registered our new phone number in the directory. And when we made phone calls to people's houses, the incoming call would read, incoming call from F and A Holes. If you're not laughing, you need to talk to the person beside you and say, can you explain this to me? Because it's actually really funny now that I've gotten over it. We do realize that Finn could end up with this issue, but we're strongly discouraging his interest in girls like Anne or Ariel. Yeah, so we're going to try to avoid that. But this was a really big deal to me. I was naming another human being. It was a great responsibility, and I wanted to get it right. I felt this weight. I wanted to get it right for Finn. Because identity is important. Some people don't know who they are. They would let the world name them with its names. And the world doesn't always speak love or truth or uplifting words to us. I want Finn to be sure of who he is, to hear his name spoken by his parents and feel care and love. I want him to come to know where he comes from. My brother Casey, he brought an interesting idea to my mind. One day, I happened to be drinking a glass of iced tea. I sat the iced tea down. I walked away. I came back. He's drinking my iced tea. You know, if you have a brother, you understand. I'm like, gross. And he's like, it's no big deal. We share 50% of the same DNA anyways. I'm like, DNA and germs are not the same thing. Put my cup down. And then I asked him, I said, well, what do you mean? Like, that we share the same DNA? He looked at me and gave me the usual dumbed-down science lesson that I need. He said, yeah, well, 50% of your DNA comes from mom, and 50% of your DNA comes from dad. We have the same mom and dad, and the way genetics works is we have about 50% of the same DNA. I don't know about you, but I thought this was really cool, actually. If there are any science teachers or biologists right now, I apologize. I'm about to give a very, very simple lesson on how this works. My DNA package, it's packaged in chromosomes. And those chromosomes, they come in pairs. I got an A+ in crafts, I'm pretty sure. The chromosomes come in pairs. I get half from my mom, and I get this half from my dad. I got a mix of my mom. You see, she had a pair of chromosomes. Whoop. And they mixed together and made this unique one for me. Same thing with my dad. I got this one from a mix of his. Kind of following, maybe just a little. It's a unique mix, this part of me. It comes from my mom and my dad, and it's unique to me. Casey gets a different chromosomes, but mixed from the same pair of my mom and my dad. And that's unique to him. So some of the traits we share, and some of our traits are different. Okay, I don't know if that really made a whole lot of sense to you, but to help, I got some pictures. The first one should be me and my brother. So there's Casey, the guy who drank my iced tea. I don't know if you can kind of see it, but we resemble each other a little bit. We both got a freckled face from my mom, and we both got my dad's round chin. We both share what you can't see is a love of researching things and coming to understand them. We also love Moose Tracks ice cream, but that's probably not genetics. And then the next one is a picture of mom, dad, and kids. And I don't know if you can see it, but you can kind of see that, you can see the influences of mom and influences of dad in there. Yeah? I don't know. What a goofy bunch we are. It is good. Casey has my dad's solid build, and I have my mom's petite frame. Casey has my mom's easygoing spirit, and I have my dad's tenacious, busy personality. We both got my mom's freckled face, like I mentioned, and my dad's chin. But we both represent our parents in our own unique way. And then there's Finn, our son. He has that round chin from me, and he has a smile like his dad's. He has my eye shape, but his dad's eyes. Like me, Finn likes his space, and he's fiercely independent. And like Adam, he thinks things through meticulously. He resembles us in his own unique way. Did you know that you resemble God? When I was pregnant with Finn, I felt the need to read the Bible's telling of creation, of how God formed the earth and added his breath into mankind. And I was struck by the lines that said that he created man in his image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. The image of God. Did you know that you resemble God? We are made of earth, our biological part, and God's breath, our spiritual part. We are a mix of earth and spirit. We are made in his image, and we bear his resemblance. In the same way that I resemble and carry traits of my parents, we resemble traits of him. If we are God's children, then you and I are brothers and sisters. And we each resemble God in our own unique way. In the same way that Casey and I each resemble our parents in our unique way. What is your unique resemblance of him? What traits did you inherit from God? What image of him do you carry? Unfortunately, I can't tell you what your unique trait is. I can't speak your identity. I'm not the one whose breath is inside of you. And unfortunately, I don't have a 12-question survey that will give you the answer. But I can tell you this. It is one of the most important questions you're going to ask yourself. What traits of God are alive in you? A long time ago, there was a guy named John. He wrote 5 books that are part of the collection of books that make up the Bible. John knew a time when he didn't know who he was. He was a fisherman named John, and that was about it. But that changed. He came to understand who he was, and he tells us a bit about that, about what he learned in his book, 1 John. So in 1 John, in the 2nd chapter, and in the 15th verse, he wrote, I don't know if I have it up there, "Do not love this world nor the things it offers you. For when you love the world, you don't have the love of the Father in you. For the world offers only a craving for physical pleasure, a craving for everything we see, and a pride in our achievements and our possessions. This is not from the Father, but are from this world." John's saying that these things that he just listed, they're not traits from God. Greed, self-gratification, pride in your abilities and your stuff, not God traits. Also, being anxious, stressed, worried, fearful, not inherited from God. So what John's saying, don't give those ones any attention. He goes on to say in verse 27, "But you have received the Holy Spirit." That's that breath. "And he lives within you. So you don't need anyone to teach you what is true. For the Spirit," there's that breath, "teaches you everything you need to know. And what he teaches is true. It is not a lie. So, just as he has taught you, remain in fellowship." Fellowship means connected to Christ. You see, he's saying something that there's something alive inside of us, and that comes from God. He says, "But you have received the Holy Spirit, the breath of God, and it's inside of you." God spent time with Jesus. That's God. Or John spent time with Jesus, God. He was connected, and he learned who he was. In his writings, he actually refers to himself as John, the one whom Jesus loved. Talk about a guy who knew how he fit into God's family. I'm John, the one who Jesus loves. I think it's cool. For me, I've come to know that I carry hope. That's what I've inherited from God. A friend of mine once asked me, if you could communicate just one characteristic of God to one person, what would it be? It didn't take me long to answer, and I said, hope. I'd want them to know the hope of Jesus, because hope is like an anchor. Anchors are used to keep ships in place. A storm can come, but an anchor keeps a ship from drifting off. It keeps it from getting lost. It can get rough, and then when the storm dies, the ship has kept its position. God's promises, his love, that's something that you can hold on to when life gets rough. He is what you hold on to keep from getting lost. Have you messed up badly? There's hope in Jesus. Life hasn't been what you'd expected it to be. You screwed up with a guy, with your kids, with your spouse. There's hope in Jesus. Still no kids, still no spouse, dead-end job, or no job. There's hope in Jesus. School sucks, teachers suck, friends suck. There's hope in Jesus. There is no hope. Jesus is hope. With observation, I've come to realize, of course I carry hope as the trait from God. Of course, that is how I represent him. I bring that hope into his world. It's actually evident throughout my life. I have two drawers full of Disney DVDs. Tarzan. I love them because they remind me to hope for happy endings and that dragons can be defeated. I wear a Tomorrowland pin, and I love the main character in that because she is the 0.00001% of the population who believes that there is hope for mankind. My favorite line in the entire Bible comes from a small book called Habakkuk. And on its 5th line, it says, "Look at the nations and watch, and be utterly amazed. For I, God, am doing something in your days that you would not believe, even if you were told." It's like I vibrate hope in my very bones. This is the trait that I have inherited from God, that I reflect into this world. And so when I speak that breath of his and put it out there in the world, I speak hope. Perhaps like me, you've inherited hope. We're brothers and sisters. We can share some of the same traits. But maybe you're like my friend Jody, and you bring healing. Do you bring peace, truth, wisdom, beauty, encouragement? John, the one whom Jesus loved, has this thought in his chapter 3, verse 1. I think we have it up there. "See how very much our Father loves us, for he calls us his children." And that is what we are. But the people who belong to this world, they don't recognize that. They don't recognize that we are God's children because they don't know him. I think that's a really important line. This world doesn't recognize that we are God's children because they don't know him. When you know God, when you know his character, then you can identify his traits versus the world's. Then you can navigate who you are, what your unique resemblance of him is. John shows us a really important truth here, that when you know where you come from, you don't wander from who you truly are. That's like the biggest thing you guys got to hold on to. If you're going to hold on to anything that I say, please just hold on to this. Text it to yourself. Text it to your mom. that when you know where you come from, you don't wander from who you truly are. Have you ever felt lost? Like you were just wandering through life, not sure of the direction that you were going? You'd like to start over, but you wouldn't even know where to start. Yeah, I've been there. You know that saying, not all who wander are lost? Sometimes I'm wandering, and sometimes I'm actually lost. Sometimes I get off track. Sometimes I feel like if I wanted to get back on track, I wouldn't even know where it was to start with, how to get back on. I had 2 dogs. The first dog, his name was Biscuit. He was a white bull terrier with a big black patch on his eye. And he was goofy, and he loved to make you laugh. But as much as he loved being a part of our family, he had the tendency to wander off. He would get a scent or hear a sound and go and investigate and wonder what it was and wander off. We got Biscuit when he was 1 year old. You see, we were his 3rd owners. Before us, he had an owner and they had to move. And then the next ones had a young kid and didn't have time for him. So by his 1st birthday, he was already on owner number 3. He never knew where his home was. He couldn't circle back like other dogs do because he never knew where he was going back to. I actually watched him one day from a hilltop. He went and investigated something and then looked up and actually didn't even know how to get back to me. He didn't know how to circle back. Our second dog, that's Fritter. She's the same breed. And I worry that because she's the same breed, she might have those same tendencies. But actually, she doesn't. We got her when she was a puppy, and she never goes very far. Sure, she can get distracted by a sound or a scent, but she's never gone for long, and she always comes back. She knows where she comes from. She knows where home is. When you know where you come from, you don't wander from who you truly are. It's a bearing point, a trailhead, a breadcrumb, a point of reference for when you get off track. When things of this world begin to name you, you're unsure of where you're going or what you're doing. You can come back to this place, this God who created you. His breath of life is in you, and he has placed a unique trait of himself inside of you. To know who you are, you need to know where you come from, who you came from, and the traits that he has passed on to you. Cool. So how do you do that, right? You need to get to know God. How are you to know what traits that you've inherited if you don't know a bit about him to recognize some of those traits? I've come to know that the Spirit of God brings hope, that he brings truth, he brings wisdom and peace. He's a healer and a teacher, and he creates beauty. But God is so big. He's got so many characteristics and so many unique things that he can be passing on to you. You just want to go get to know him. Get to know his purposes. Get to know his love for you. Make an effort to get to know the God whose breath resides in your lungs. Read the Bible. Read those words of Jesus. Maybe pick up a book about God and read through that. My favorite one right now is a book called Love Does by Bob Goff. It's a really good one, but there's a whole lot more. Maybe you don't read. I know there are some of you out there, you're like, I just don't read. Audiobooks. Yes, you can listen. They're really great, especially if you drive a lot, if you're going on a road trip. I love audiobooks for that. You know what? You can go and experience God. Go for a walk out in nature. He created that. Become familiar with your breath and recognize that spirit inside of you. Another thing is to become aware of your heart questions. This is the big one for me. This is what I do. This is how I became to recognize what my trait was. Become aware of your heart questions. What is it that your heart longs to hear? Do you want to know what spirit he's placed inside of you? Do you want to know who God is? Find those longings inside of yourself, and then make those longings known to yourself. And then, if you dare, make them known to God. Give them to him. God will move and make himself known to you. But first, you need to make your requests known to him. If you don't know what your heart wants, and God were just to, if you didn't know, and God were just to simply, answer your heart, but you weren't aware of it, you wouldn't even notice that he was working to show you something. When my friend asked me that question that led to my answer, hope, I recognized that as an answer to my heart's question. So ask him. Ask him to reveal who you are. Ask him to give you just one idea of a trait that you've inherited from him, of the image of him inside of you. And then, and here's kind of the hard part sometimes, and then be still. Listen and watch. God will reveal himself to you. It could be in the form of a question from a friend, like me. It could come from a picture, a movie, I don't know, maybe from your dog. But this question is so important. What resemblance of him do you bear? It's so important because when you know where you come from, you don't wander from who you truly are. Can you guys see it? That we carry an image of God with us wherever we go and in whatever we do. In each of us, there's a breath, and you take that with you and you live it out. You could be changing diapers. You can be answering phones. You can serve customers, sit in a classroom, sit in a coffee shop, build a house, take out garbage. And all the while, you can be living that image of God that you were created to bring to this world. You can be at one with that breath. You can volunteer here at Connect with the kids. You can speak from this very stage. Or, if you prefer, you can sweep up after we've all left. So long as that I bring hope into the lives of the people around me, so long as you bring your unique resemblance of God to the world around you, you bring truth. You bring healing. Whatever that unique thing is. And when you do, you feel less like you're lost, less like you're wandering, and more sure of who you are because you know where you came from. It brings a kind of life. You know that you're living that unique design for yourself. And that is probably the thing that I love about this most. That if we all were to learn to live that unique trait that God has given to us, to live that and to bring that to this world, and we came to recognize it, we could teach that to our kids. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't it be awesome if we knew this well enough that we could demonstrate it to our kids and help them rise up to know who they are, and that they would not wander from who they truly are? I'd say that is right up there at the top of every mom's wish list for her children, that they know who they are and that they would not wander far from it. I want to teach that to my son. That's my greatest wish as a mom for my kid. And you guys, that's God's wish for you. I want to end with a prayer, and I want to make some requests known to God. If you want, you can join me. God, well, I'll admit it, sometimes I feel lost, like I'm just wandering. I want to know you. I want to know you, God, and I want to know how you created me. I want to know my unique resemblance of you. I want each breath that I breathe to come out as praise. And God, I want to bring this knowledge to my child. I'm done with wandering. I want to get to know you. I will wait, and I will watch. I'm going to watch you reveal the trait that you have placed in me to me. God, I'm excited. I pray all these things in your holy name. Amen. Thanks, guys. Thanks for celebrating Mother's Day with me. This is my very first Mother's Day, and I'm really excited that I got to spend it with you. Thanks. Next week, we'll be starting a new series. It's called Clash of Plans. I love it. And it's a series about, we talk about the armor of God, about how we face battles in our life, battles inside of us, to choose the right choices or the wrong choices. And we're going to equip ourselves to make those right choices, to battle against those things inside of us that are tempting us to do the wrong thing. So it's called Clash of Plans, and I think we even have a demo video. Take a look. That's so good. That's awesome. Awesome, guys. Thanks for spending the morning with us, and I hope to see you next week for Clash of Plans. See ya.